Hey readers, we are finally going to dig deep into some specific types of poetry, and we are going to start with something called the haiku. Just some fun facts about the haiku. It originated in Japan, and it's really accessible. And what I mean by accessible is because it is a shorter poem with a specific pattern, poets that are just starting to write their own poetry find these easier to write. They don't take a lot of words. They're very simple in their format. And actually, we're going to read some haikus by the person who created this pattern, Matsuo Basho, and he spent a lot of time by himself. He believed in meditation. He was very into Zen lifestyle. So we're going to find a lot of tranquility and peace in this format. So let's learn a little bit more about it. Like I said, it's very simple. It's got a tone of mindfulness. Lots of times the themes are nature-based or they have a lot to do with your feelings, and they're very descriptive. So a nickname for them has been a painting with words. So like I said, haikus follow a certain pattern, and I'm going to refer to this as kind of the ingredients. You know, if you're in the kitchen and you're baking something, if you're missing one of the ingredients, then the end result isn't going to taste right. That's the same way with a haiku. If we're missing any of these things, it's not going to feel like an actual haiku. It's just one stanza with 3 lines in it, and in those 3 lines you're going to get to a total of 17 syllables. Syllables meaning the different parts of a word, right? My last name, Havis, hey, this, it has 2 syllables. And also, as we have discovered before in some of our daily edits, each syllable of a word is going to have a vowel. So line 1 of a haiku is going to be 5 syllables, line 2 is 7 syllables, and line 3 is 5 syllables. So 5 and 7 and 5, total of 17. There's your math lesson for the day. So we're going to have some opportunities to check syllables in some of Basho's poetry as we kind of continue through this lesson. So lots, as I mentioned before, lots of haikus are based in nature, and oftentimes they will refer to a season. And again, we're going to be looking for sensory words that help us create imagery, which we know is definitely a big element in poetry. So we're going to look at some haikus and see, okay, how many of my 5 senses did this poet tap into? So let's take a peek at some examples. Here is a haiku written by the haiku's creator, Matsuo. An old silent pond, a frog jumps into the pond, splash, silence again. So you can see down here, I put a little dot above each syllable. So the words an, old, and pond all have 1 syllable, but silent has 2. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash, silence again, right? And I, in my mind, am thinking that my sense of hearing was activated because I've got the word silence, silent, the absence of noise, and then splash. I am able to visualize a frog jumping. So I've got 2 major senses that have been activated, and I'm thinking of the season spring, right? That's when we're seeing frogs jumping around. We're thinking of spending time at a pond. Let's try another one. In this twilight rain, these brilliant hued hibiscus, a lovely sunset. Again, very heavily nature-based, right? Here's a picture of a haiku. So right when I read this, I went and Googled a picture of a hibiscus. I Googled hibiscus because I wanted to make sure that my mental image, that the sense of sight was activated correctly. And then here we've got our syllables. In this twilight rain, these brilliant hued hibiscus, a lovely sunset. One more note before I send you off to try analyzing some haikus is because there's only 17 syllables total, 3 lines, only one stanza, the words that are chosen by a haiku poet are very intentional. They have to be careful with what they choose for a couple of reasons. Number one, they can't have a ton of words in a haiku. And number two, it has to match our syllable count, right? So these brilliant hued roses wouldn't work, right? Because roses is only 2 syllables. Same with two lips, only 2 syllables. So if I wanted that line to have another flower type, I would need to change the syllables that came before. So it's kind of fun to play with different options when you're writing a haiku because you're trying to get to this total of 17 through the 5-7-5. So enjoy analyzing some other poetries on the next slides of this Pear Deck.